that will be funny. And it's like, well, where did Steve go? We don't know. I hope we didn't offend him.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. So let's just quickly remember the camera is there.
Oh.
I know, it's a trick.
So much
Everybody.
to say, yeah.
Everybody.
Hi, everybody. This is 2 Floridian. Thank you for tuning in to the live show. Thank you for tuning in over there to the live show. We can see your comments now on the screen. We started that since we began doing this podcast. We appreciate you tuning into the first one where we talked with Ander Eshinobe from Miami, who goes to Pamplona to run with the Bulls, who tolerated my animal activism questions.
Oh my God.
And then, that's the thing we do. We just ask the questions we care about.
Yes.
And
open table.
I'm scared. I'm kind of scared.
We've had conversations before. They all seem to have gone well.
Yeah. Talk about animals. I'm good.
Yeah, I love animals. I'm big on them. Then we spoke with Richard Cirillo, who had a lot to do with the formation of Riverside becoming the way it is today, and our parks, and is engaging in charitable works that help preserve the way that Riverside is, being open and inclusive of everybody. So now today we're speaking with Steve Williams. He's joining us to party with us at 10:30 in the morning. And
I'm just drinking water for the record.
Yeah, we're gonna. And Alexander's just drinking water. She's the CEO. You know, she's got to be in control. She's got it all in her wraps.
It sounds like very rigid. That I have to
does
be
sound
in control.
rigid.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
I have stuff to do.
I'm misrepresenting things already.
It's okay.
I like it though.
Let's talk about Steve Williams, I guess.
Yes, that's right. Steve Williams has Harbinger Gallery, so I'd like to introduce him to you as somebody who has been.
Is that the name?
It's Florida Mining Gallery.
Yeah.
Florida Mining Gallery.
And Harbinger. That's
a different company.
Yeah,
it's a multifaceted man.
I see. Yes. I guess I thought of them conflated, but the arts is something that you have been familiar with in Jacksonville. You've promoted and supported Jacksonville artists for a long time. And I'm particularly fascinated with AI art as well as art. You studied art history,
right? To a
right?
degree, yeah.
So I think we should have plenty to discuss this morning, but let's start with a drink. See, you've got one. I'll pour one.
Here, I'll pour you since.
Awesome. Thank
in
you
my
much.
tradition, you should not pour your own alcohol.
I'm going to tell people what tradition that is.
I don't know, to be honest. I come from a cross-cultural background. I don't know if it's Russian or Korean or Kazakh. So either one of those.
Yeah.
But anyway,
well, cheers to
I'm
that.
not going to cheer because I have water, but I'll cheer.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Steve, tell us maybe before we get started a little bit about the gallery, so I can also call it by the right term, Florida Mining Gallery, and tell us a bit about what your focus is and what your objective is with Florida Mining Gallery.
Oh boy. Well, our objective has always been to give back to the community. And I just have a love for art. I'm an artist. I'm a painter. And, that kind of is, I don't know where to start and where to stop, but back in the 90s, that's where I started becoming interested in being a gallerist.
Was that here in Jacksonville?
Here in Jacksonville. So I was a painter, just getting started with my career, looking around where to exhibit my work, and there wasn't many places. In fact, there was no places. The one spot, Gallery Contemporánea, was going out of business, and she was showing everybody in town. And so then we were like, where are we going to show? And we started doing small shows and, built to what we have today.
And had you moved to Jacksonville, or were you born here?
I was born in Raleigh, but moved here quick. Moved here when I was 5, so I was raised here.
Raised here.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Tell us maybe a little bit about the beginning of the gallery. How was it when you first began, and how would you describe the progression?
Well, the coolest thing about it, I think, is when we were building the gallery in 2010, we were working with Rebecca Davison, an amazing designer here in Jacksonville, and she was putting it together, and we built the space, and we walk in the space, and I emptied my desk, put all my stuff away, and I found this picture that I pulled like 5 years before then of the dream gallery that I would love to have. And it was the same gallery. I had subconsciously just worked toward that same, it was exactly the same design.
Wow.
Gives me chills.
Yeah.
I love that.
When I saw that, I was like, this is meant to be.
It's like right out of The Secret. Like,
I know.
You're like
Do you
manifesting
still
the
have that
future.
photo?
I do, somewhere.
Should put it up in the
Great.
gallery.
Yeah, right.
Definitely-
This is where it started
definitely
in my
frame
brain.
it.
Yes.
Mhm.
So that was cool. But this space we started in 2011 was when we opened. You know, we've represented everyone from local to regional to national artists, international artists. And we've, over the years, just continued to plug along, trying to encourage other galleries in Jacksonville to open, try to be a voice in, you know, high quality exhibits, mixing local artists with regional artists with national artists, all the same quality, or, you know, mentoring young artists up.
Tell us about a few of those quality exhibits. We've been to them before and we've enjoyed them. But tell us what you have going
I
on.
have to confess, post-pandemic, we have to like.
Yeah.
I get the.
Yeah,
I
they've been
know.
weird.
Thanks for
since
the.
then.
Thanks for the look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple since then, but we've done a few online with Artsy, which have been nice. But yeah, we're trying to figure that out now, like where we're going. But from the past, we've done just so many exhibits. I can't even remember all of them. I mean, I need to document all that stuff. But I think the ones that were most exciting is when we were working with a curator or bringing in somebody, you know, that no one knew in Jacksonville and mixing them with someone from here. Group exhibits are amazing for me because then we get to, you know, work with a lot of different people that we wouldn't normally work with daily.
Any particular artists that you'd like to mention that you've enjoyed working with? Obviously not to the exclusion of others, but maybe some that stand out in the moment.
Boy, that's hard to say. You know,
Yeah.
as a gallerist, I think
It's like
that's
your
one
children.
place where you kind of get aimed at because you have to be, you only have so many spots to work with. And so a lot of people feel unincluded or unnoticed and I don't like that about the gallery situation because you have to be critical and you have to, you know, curate and people get their feelings hurt. It's really an emotional business and it's hard to separate yourself from your work. So when your work doesn't get included or invited or whatever, then you think something personal is going on. That's just not the case. It's
Apparently,
quality, right?
offices are cleaning out, and apparently there's a lot of people. Maybe they should turn them all into galleries, and all the people that don't have jobs should display better art.
I'm not going to disagree. It'd be amazing.
So I have a question about curation. So are you, let's say, when you said when there is a curator attached or in addition or accompanying an artist, that's his or her job. But so when there's none, are you the curator of your gallery?
Yes. And I enjoy that. I really enjoy putting shows together and designing the shows. I have a really great time doing that. I think most gallerists probably love that part of it most. And it's financially or, you know, fiscally the least important part of the process. So, and a lot of sales do not come from the exhibits. They come from behind the exhibit where
Is it one of those things though that seems the least important, but if you don't do it right, it turns out it was the most important also?
True. It's more brand building than it is sales. So if you're looking at it like a business, which I do, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think that's a tribute to your success. There are many galleries and there are many struggles to owning a gallery, but I think it's a testament the time that you stood and the artists that you've been able to represent repeatedly and consistently from this gallery.
Thank you.
What do you think is the impact? You knew this question was coming with AI on art. How is this? Have you shown any AI artist in your gallery, and would you?
Sure, I'm sure. You know, the best place for AI or the most experience I've had personally with AR.
What is AR?
There is an AR, right?
Account
that's-
receivables.
Also,
Speaking of
I love those. I love
also it's a type of gun. But augmented reality is what you're thinking.
Oh, that yes. Okay, so you were not
Yeah.
far off.
So, I mean, you know, the most experience I've had with it is like building an agenda or like writing a plan, marketing plan or something like that. As far as the arts go, I'm pretty traditional: painting, sculpture, printmaking, photography.
You do sculpture as well?
We do have sculpture. We represent some sculpture.
Oh, I meant
gallery.
you
You guys in the
meant you meant you.
Oh,
as
my
an
work
artist.
personally?
Yeah.
I would say some of it's sculptural. Yes.
Have you
my own
shown your
work.
work in your gallery?
No, I've never.
Is it-
I don't.
is it-
really
is it
a
show my
Mauvais
work.
ton?
You critically reviewed your own work, and you're like, "We're not putting this in yet. It's not the right time for you." You're like, "But I got everything prepped. But
Right.
wait till I get in contact with you."
I think
Well,
I think it's a matter of how can I put together other people's work and just throw mine in there. I think it keeps it more clean and clear and unbiased if I don't put my work there, which so I think that's important. And I think over the years I'm pretty proud of that, right? I mean, a lot of people would throw their work in there, which is great. I mean, I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying for me personally, I want to keep it pretty unbiased.
I respect that. Although all I've done through my whole life is throw my own work back into my own work.
Yeah, rightfully so, right?
But I think that's very respectable.
yeah.
You had a
And I
question?
think, just real quick, I think talking about making a gallery system in Jacksonville is important. And I think that's part of it is like, or one of the things we've aimed for in the past is to create a space and a gallery that would inspire other people to open other galleries. And that's another reason why I haven't included myself is just like make it really pure and make it really right. And
It's
make it,
about galleries. It's about inspiring people to run a gallery. It's so rare. I didn't even know that about you until now. So few people run a business model with the model, do what I'm doing. Let me help you.
yeah, I've always wanted to do that. I think it's community over competition. I know that's overused, but I really believe in that. And I think as a city, we have such an amazing art community. Sorry if I'm not loud enough. And
Thank you.
past 10 years, 15 years, it's been really hard to organize it because it's been growing and getting momentum and it's starting to see some, some of that leadership coming on board and some of that happening. It's exciting right now.
The new galleries eager to be open. Okay.
Not fast enough, but
Right. So speaking about the art art scene, let's call it, because I want to use the community word in my next sentence. So do you think Jacksonville art environment scene is shifting towards that community over competition? Because that's
a really good story. I mean, question. Hope it has a story. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's been the Wild West here for art, for the past 30 years, really. So everyone's had to sort of fight for their position, I think. And, again, back to curating a gallery space, people feel hurt and they go out, which could possibly end up being good, right? Competition is good. Go out and they start a gallery because they didn't get included. That's how we started. All the galleries closed, so we started our own. But yeah, I don't know. Not finishing that very well.
No, I mean,
I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, and as you said, it's still information, or it's still kind of in that active process of shifting, transitioning, metamorphosing. So it was maybe hard to put a label, yes or no. It's somewhere in between. Yeah.
How do you? How would you? If somebody was listening to this podcast and thinking, "Hey, I'm interested in exactly that," can you describe starting a gallery?
Yes.
Can you tell somebody a little bit about how they ought to get started with a gallery?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was starting it, I'd go around and ask other gallerists that I would meet, what do I do? And in Jacksonville, people would say, don't open that in Jacksonville. Do not open a gallery in Jacksonville. I heard it so loud and clear. And I was bound and determined when I was young. I was super passionate about it. Like, don't tell me not to open a gallery here. We're going to do it. So I would encourage people. I want to encourage people and be a resource. I know all the things of what not to do, for sure.
So they should contact you. That's what they really need to contact you. Contact a mentor. Somebody who can walk them through the paces and help them maybe navigate around some, because I'm not wrong to say it's a challenge, right?
Oh, it's hardest. It might be harder than the restaurant business, to be honest.
Wow.
It's a great business. And I think it's a helpful business that's misunderstood. And in this world of artists getting on Instagram and creating a living on Instagram, that's amazing, right? I mean, I'm so excited about that. Speaking of AI, that's heading maybe toward what's going on. But also just the traditional gallery experience of people coming in and getting inspired and having an inventory to fill buildings, commercial buildings, fill residential buildings with things that are unique and supporting people who are making things by hand and to a message that might be important to you, or even economically building a collection.
What would you sorry,
go. Okay, thank you. Well, speaking of this physical space, I think also when you hold an actual exhibition in a gallery, especially if it's not just a pop-up space, but it's a curated space with your energy and your intention, people who come to see, it's also let's say, a bonus experience. So just being in that space, that physical contact of the art, being in the same time and space as you are, that matters versus buying art on Instagram or online, which I have nothing against. It's just, I think there's
an experience.
Right, there's the flavor, and you can't replace it, no matter how well oiled the machine of shipping and returning.
It's like a business, but it should be an experience. I think the one experience I remember kind of clicking what that is that you're talking about is there was an exhibit at Phyllis Kind Gallery in New York. I'm not sure who the artist was, but there was like dead deer hanging and like all of this, and I'm thinking, how is this gonna make money, and what's going on here? So then you walk into the back and there's beautiful drawings that he did of the hanging deer that were dead and all the other things that were included in the installation. And so that's what you buy, right? You come in and you experience this emotional thing of the animals hanging, and then you go in the back and there's beautiful drawings of that. That's what you purchase, and you take that home as a souvenir almost, right?
Just
of the experience.
Yeah, and beautiful.
So he brought the inspiration. He set up the inspiration. He did art inside out.
Was it a roadkill?
I don't know what that was. It was hard to look at, right? I mean, it was hard to.
Oh man, that's one of the most difficult subjects to me. I just
Well, I mean,
roadkill
is also sad.
Yeah, all of it. I want to take care of this world. The only thing that's not sad to me is when a life is fully lived and then it's over after a complete life. That's anything else feels like such a waste of such an amazing experience that we could be enjoying.
Oh, that's so true. And this that you guys are putting together is part of that, right? I mean,
that's right.
This is incredible that you're going to bring people in and interview them and talk about the city and talk about Florida.
Yes. And have a nuanced conversation. I also wanted to do this because I found it lacking. I found two things online. I watch a lot of podcasts, and I saw that anything related to Florida Men seemed to automatically have its own advertising built in. Yeah. So I'll admit that I noticed this, and I was like, well, that's easy. But then I thought, what's missing in this conversation is a nuanced conversation. Everybody has some bias, even if it's the point of even some of my favorite are science people. They're just talking about science, but they're still biased. They're towards this one way of thinking that they've invested in. And I thought, it seems like the least biased podcast would be somebody who is drinking and partying in Florida, just having random conversations about what they're passionate about. And when Alexandra agreed to join, I was like, now it's nuanced.
Nuance.
I think it's interesting though to have like all this experience of growing up in Florida and then have the experience of people who have moved to Florida and have had that experience new. I mean, we've always tried to keep artists either that we exhibit in they're from Florida or from the South, or they have an experience when they show up to the South. Maybe they're from the North and they come here and they're like, what is this real strange exotic culture that's going on down here?
Alexandra came. She'd never been before until 2014. She'd never been to 13. Never been to the U.S.
What was your first impression of that?
Oh gosh, I remember I landed very late, so I arrived in Riverside. It was already dark, and so it was 10 years ago. And we went to one of the King Street, so it's one of the main, let's say, arteries of entertainment in Riverside and Avondale. For those who don't know what Jacksonville looks like.
If you don't know King Street, you're missing out.
Yeah, and it was like one of those bourbon bars. It was a Friday or Saturday, so it was packed. And
Rogue. I think it was Rogue.
Rogue, yes. And it was visually very different. Because I lived, before that I lived in New York for, Central and Northern New York for, 7-8 years. So you can imagine. From climate, from the weather conditions coming in November, to just how people dress, how they interact, how they look. The loudness. It was very loud. I remember it was so loud. It was almost too much. But I
always think that too. Like every time you go to Europe, you come home, why is everyone so loud in America? As you hit the airport and you're like, this is way too loud.
I think there's just physically more space. Because in Europe, even if you look at the map, everything is so close together, so you don't have that luxury of, I don't know, stretching out, whether it's your arms or through your voice. Right?
I have an
So I don't know if
additional
that's-
theory. I agree with this somewhat, but I think Americans have a habit of broadcasting. I think they're very happy with themselves. They're conditioned to be very happy with themselves. And they feel like they're sharing joy to be very gregarious and loud, and they think it's fun and funny.
But they never behave. Well, I don't like they us.
Well, I am.
Americans
they in
do
this case.
never behave this way when they're not in their country. I when I lived in St. Petersburg, Russia, through my studies, one of my friends, as a side job, she was doing tours for cruises, and there were a lot of Americans, of course, coming on cruises, and she would do like Hermitage and the Winter Palace and all those things, and show them. And she said American tourists are the best tourists to give tours to.
Why?
First of all, you tip 20%. Yeah. Or at least 10, which is normally a top of the range. And so, yeah, they're the kindest, they're very grateful, always very appreciative of you. And you're very, I think, vocal about your gratitude and being thankful.
So interesting to hear that. It's
yeah.
great.
And it
That's
was,
true.
and that was not like a specific, custom tailored made tours. It was just like cruise tour, like get in a group of 20 people. So it was a pretty good blend of different states, maybe, and represented from different states. Yeah.
So
People used to tell me in Amsterdam that there's a big variety from America, that there's a big difference in American tourists.
How so?
That some are the ones that they talk about that are just really like loud and getting smashed and hanging out with me, and then the other ones are very are usually educated, a bit more reserved, more, I'd say, have more in common with European people. Usually want to know about the culture, the arts, the communities. Versus just party. And they have the same opinion of the Brits. So it's actually English speaking and Irish. So it's actually English speaking people, interestingly, I can say in Amsterdam, is the general consensus in Amsterdam. And when tourists come through there, that the Irish, the Brits, and the Americans have the most obnoxious hooligans.
Interesting.
Wow.
But then not everybody is. But that they also have these counterpoint, these people who don't play that way.
Yeah.
And who are completely different.
That's so interesting.
Well, let's go back to Florida mining and
Back to Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's how did you come up with the name? And is there a
Good
special meaning?
question. Well, I was really excited because this is the first gallery project I had that was all mine.
Oh, so it's mining.
No, oh gosh, that would sound like that. I never even thought of that.
It's like Elon Musk name,
I know,
the mining
right? Yeah.
company, making things mine.
Yeah, I mean, well, I thought, I liked it was on Florida Mining Boulevard, but I also loved the idea of just mining here, what's in Florida, finding art-wise, finding what's, who's coming up, what's assets do we have, and then I always had wanted to open a gallery in Berlin, and I thought it would be so interesting to have Florida mining in Berlin.
Yeah.
And I love that juxtaposition of just the oddness of what that is. And we get a lot of calls all the time of like for mining, like, I mean, do we mine rocks or do we mine,
I was going to say, was there a lot of competition for, because Florida mining feels like you would have to be mining for something wet. If you're going to do a lot of mining in Florida, you're going to not get far before you're mining for sand or seawater.
Limestone, or is that, I don't know.
So
I don't know anything about mining.
where do you stand with the Berlin mining or Berlin gallery?
Yeah, we met in Berlin.
Yeah, that's right. We did. And I think, we love Berlin. We have a lot of friends in Berlin. I used to go before the pandemic every year.
Nice.
I feel like it's a lot like Jacksonville, strangely. Before I had gone for the first time back in the early 2000s, I always thought Berlin was like huge buildings and everybody dressed in black leather and,
Nihilists. They're all nihilists.
Yeah, Germans, but it's very provincial and it's very much like Jacksonville as far as our historic boroughs around downtown. Maybe isn't too size-wise, it might even be kind of similar. Everywhere in Berlin, you could ride a bike or walk or, get around so easily.
We just missed out on having a wall.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe we. Yeah,
We're working on it. We're working on the Jacksonville Wall.
I'm not
It
saying
was
anything.
proposed here. You heard it here. Steve Williams wants to build a wall.
Oh my
between
gosh.
us and Florida, or between
No, in
us and
Jacksonville.
Georgia?
In Jacksonville. Yeah, yeah, between us and Georgia. That's good. Yeah, yeah. The Florida-Georgia Wall.
Right.
That's there's jokes already about that.
Oh, that's what I often hear, speaking of Georgia, that it's like, what is North Florida? Is it more Florida or is it more like Southern Georgia?
Yeah,
What's
it's
your take on that?
Florida.
well. I really find it so interesting that we have so much of the story of South Georgia and South Carolina that started here, like the Gullah Geechee people. The Low Country was coined here in Jacksonville, and we lost it. Right, Charleston got that moniker, and as Charleston and Savannah have come up, Jacksonville got kind of left in the dust a little bit. But I find it to be a really interesting region with an exotic story. The Gullah Geechee story mixed with a Southern story.
The Gullah Geechee story. I
Yeah,
don't know that
tell me
one.
about that.
So the Gullah, I'm not an expert. Ennis Davis is the local expert on that. And he's an amazingly smart guy, and he knows all of the history on it. But I guess it's the original people from Africa, slaves that were brought to this area, and they had their own culture, sort of their own language too, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't know much about it in detail, but it's a rich culture that's still around. There's a park going downtown Jacksonville that's going to celebrate it a little bit. I like that they're bringing that history back to Jacksonville. But as a region, you've got Charleston, Savannah, Jacksonville, and you have all of the outlying islands. Sea Island, you have Amelia Island, you have Cumberland Island, you have Sapelo Island. Such interesting history and culture on all of those islands. And if we could create this region as an important place with the exotic story, I think it's internationally interesting, right? I mean, people are we could become a place, like we're making ourselves as an interesting place to visit. Through the arts, I think could help, through economic development that could help, cultural tourism could help, and all of those things together could really make it a special spot. It is a special spot, but it could tell the world a little bit more if we make an effort.
Do you think there's resistance to that? I've wondered if, since Jacksonville, as I'm sure you know, was Hollywood before Hollywood was, and black and white films were made here, and then they didn't like it. People in power who had say so, was like, we don't want brothels, and they viewed it as really low class, and also the first time the word, was it jazz or blues? Blues, not jazz. The first time the word blues was advertised. Was here because of the American Beach had a place that advertised. I think Ray Charles went there at some point, and so all that was driven out. Like these were like moments where Jacksonville had its renaissance. It came into the cultural ethos, and the awareness of most people in the city was tied in with that of Paris and Rome.
It was a couture hotspot, like Valentino making dresses in the basement of what's now City Hall, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Valentino?
He'd come and make dresses in the basement of.
I didn't know that. Cool.
It was I don't know if it was May Cohen's then, but it was where City Hall is now. There was Barton Slides, which was a top couture spot. La Rose Shoes, y'all know.
Wow.
And now you can't buy a hat here. There's literally no place in Jacksonville, Florida to buy a hat.
Yeah.
It's a crazy concept.
But we're getting a Chanel store. We have a Gucci. We just got a Gucci
Really?
store. I don't know what.
At Town Center? Oh. Okay.
St. Laurent's coming too.
Town Center is one of the top grossing malls in the world, if not the. I think it was the at one point, but I don't know today, so I'll just say one of. But at some point, it was the top grossing. But my question, back to my question is, do you think there's resistance that existed, and does it still exist?
I think it hasn't been seen. I don't think that vision has been seen much, because they're always talking about Charleston, or we're always talking about Savannah, or we're always talking about the little engine down here in Jacksonville that, the little engine that could.
But is there something against it in the city, you think? Is there anything holding it back?
I talk about that a lot to a lot of people. So there is some people that go, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. But whenever I talk some of the other people think that makes so much sense, right? Power in numbers, or yeah. So yeah, I just think it needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, and more people should have that conversation. And I mean, if somebody got serious about it, it could be a nice project to tie all the visitors and convention bureaus together and get all the galleries together and make a thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, my most recent company I called Jacksonville Incorporated, and the reason is because it's software to buy real estate, but the idea is to do something very novel with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into it all here, but the point is that I want to promote Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I want Jacksonville to be known and
Incorporated.
incorporated. I want it to be incorporated. I want it to be. I feel there's an amazing story here. I've lived in many places. I've traveled to many places, and I keep coming back here not by accident. Yeah. It's quite purposeful. I find this place full of magic and mystery, and I constantly learn new things. I didn't know about May Cohen's.
Well, isn't that such a unique part of Jacksonville, that we are sort of this hidden city? I mean, now we have the Emerald Trail that's coming, that kind of throws back to this mystical, mysterious, we don't know really what's going on, Wizard of Oz kind of thing. And then next to that is going to be a district called the Pearl District, which is also a hidden jewel, right? There's a pearl inside of this horrible looking oyster. To me, it's such a nice story illustration of what Jacksonville is. Like at first glance, it's like, whoa, that's really awful. And then the second glance, like rich and story filled and all kinds of personalities that are interesting, and an art community that is probably one of the biggest art communities around.
Well, I can't help but share, at least for a second, my theory about that, because I feel like you didn't totally answer the question. That's okay. You don't have to. I won't hold your feet to the fire on it. But I think that the times have changed, and that I think that a puritanical spirit that was very strong in Jacksonville has shifted with time, and that now young people today aren't being corrupted by jazz music and weed. Those things are all fine. Yeah. And so consequently, I think that now is the time to make all these things happen, because the forces that were holding Jacksonville back, I don't know. I'm not going to get conspiratorial because I don't know any of these people, but whatever it was, I don't feel like it is now. I feel like the foot is off the city, and I feel like it's really flourishing, in part because we're building a nice, clean environment, because it is something really enjoyable and clean and good for people to be able to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about people discovering something, right? So I think Jacksonville's that now. People have discovered it, and people want to be the ones who've discovered it. So there's a lot in the brokers world. There's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of talk about like, oh, this is the new city. This is the place we're going to develop some. And we have so many projects that are started that are world class. A Union Terminal, the Pearl District, which is near the Old Baptist Church. I don't think, you can go. I like to look forward, but looking back a little bit, everybody talks about the Baptist Church. And while it might have held back downtown at some level, we don't know, right? And so now it's gone, though. I mean, it's been bought. They're developing the whole area as the Pearl District. And I love that story. That's such an interesting story.
I do too. And the Baptist Church is still here. There was no great fight. There was no coup. Just times evolved. And I think it's time now for people who want to do something novel, because the conflicts that used to exist and the dichotomies that used to exist aren't separate anymore. Exactly. We're all together now.
Exactly. That's nice. I mean, that's what, is going to create a really strong community.
That's right. It has to be inclusive of everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're accomplishing here. And I'm so proud of being a part of a city that has so much diversity within it.
Absolutely. My husband is Black, so he and I feel very comfortable in Atlanta. And there's a nice mix of diverse people in Atlanta. However, now we're starting to feel pretty comfortable here. I mean, we really like the diversity that's happening, especially around downtown and the historic boroughs. I mean, there's lots of diversity going on, lots of acceptance, it seems like. And we're excited about being a part of that. We had tried to move to Atlanta about 8 years ago. We almost bought a place, and we were going to leave, and we were going up there a lot.
Seems like I recall a conversation about that, yeah.
I really haven't seen you in Atlanta, I don't know. But we'd go up there, and there'd be all this fun stuff to do, and it was all developed, and it was like you couldn't really see what was coming. And then we'd come home and we would drive around and think like, this would be great there and that would be great over here. And we came back home with this creative energy that was just so exciting. It still is here, you know.
And you decided to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that also about Jacksonville. There's space to make what you want here. It's one of the biggest cities in the world.
Yeah.
It's the biggest city in the U.S. if you include the beach, which used to be included with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think for now, in a world where space is rapidly running out, you still have available people to help you out to some degree. These are all challenges anywhere. I'm not going to act like it's easy, but you have the space, you have the people, and I think now is the best time, bar none, to start anything in this city.
Not much real estate available, that's for sure.
Not much anywhere, but we have more than most still in Jacksonville.
True. It's affordable.
Well, speaking of Jacksonville and historic, I like how you call them historical boroughs.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Is this your term, or is like...
Yeah, I started saying that. There was a moment when I came back from Berlin, and they have boroughs. You know, they kind of, Manhattan has boroughs, right?
Right.
So do we, and I think it's so special and wonderful. Joe Gaskin, I don't know if you guys know Joe Gaskin.
No, I don't know him.
He's a great guy. He's we're close. He's like, well, I haven't seen him in a while, but he's like a nephew almost to me. And we used to live in San Marco, and he'd live in Springfield. And he came over for dinner once, and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to ride my bike over." And I was like floored. I was like, "From Springfield? Are you kidding me? That's like, you're going to ride a bike?" Yeah, no problem. He got there so quick. So I tried it myself. It's so close.
Yeah.
Such a small area too. You could even walk almost, you know, in other big cities, you'd walk that far. So
yeah, that's true.
I love the connectivity of that. You know?
Yeah, we used to ride our bike to the Y and then walk downtown. I should do it again.
You should,
Nice walk. Nice walk.
But so, but this is, let's say, what we're talking about is predominantly pertaining to those historical boroughs. How about the rest of Jacksonville? What do you think is just gonna like the separation in spirit, so to say, will just keep growing, or you think the historical boroughs will eventually magnetize and draw them in?
Southside's very happy with themselves. They're doing good. I mean, it's not the environment we're fond of because we like a historic area, but Southside's real happy with their schools and their...
I think you're talking more about St. John's.
Yeah, St. John's, Southside.
Yeah, it's growing. And I think
actually.
I saw a map recently that was like 2017, 18 of downtown and a few of the little outlying areas that were all green. And now in 2023, they took the same photo and it's all houses. It's all developed. It's like not what it used to be even 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Alexander's like, oh, it's green.
I know. I mean, we do have an amazing park system. We can't.
That is true, yes.
Yeah, so.
I know, we do have amazing parks.
And we're surrounded by more green.
Yeah, water. It's an amazing city. Yeah.
True so. About your art. Is that okay? Is it a comfortable zone?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us more about your art. Because we know Steve Williams as a gallerist and business owner. Would you like to talk about your business?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
After your art.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think anything that I do is art for me. You know, it's all a creative process, even the business part of it. Yes. So, you know, as an artist, you're also a business person. You have to think about accounting and shipping and sales and production, all the stuff that a business also has. And I've been fascinated by that forever since I started becoming an artist, or practicing my art. And I've practiced art since 1990, something like that. And more sometimes than other times. Currently right now I'm not painting, but I'm itching to. So I always work in my head when I'm not working. But I'm a painter, mixed media artist. And I've been working in my head for the past few years of just trying to figure out what that next step is. Probably,
in what sense?
Yeah, probably like in the 90s, I did try to do more non-objective work, and I was learning how to paint. In the early 2000s, someone told me, if you paint one thing, you'll learn and paint 300 paintings, you'll learn how to be a painter. So I picked still life as my subject, and I painted for 5 years only still life.
Just that one?
Just still life. Well, not the same one over and over. That would have been amazing, though.
Yes.
That would have
A
actually
little
done
bit
that.
manic, but yeah,
I
amazing.
love that idea.
Yeah.
I'll start
And no
that
matter what
tomorrow,
happens,
actually.
no matter what the rest of your life does, when the police find it or whoever, they'll be like, "This explains everything."
It's
No
all
matter
over the
what
wall,
it was.
yarn and like.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of that, I was a lot more comfortable as a painter. You know, I felt like I knew what I was doing more, and I think you're always learning when it comes to that. New materials or new whatever you're going to add or take away. And so I landed in the spot where I was now going to try to do non-objective work, but mixed with some of the imagery that I'd learned how to develop over the past 5 years. And I've been working toward that, and there's something in there. And so that's where I am right now. It's just, and I want to add some sculptural part of the process, and I'm working on that now. So not ready to show it yet though, but
What are you sculpting?
having fun.
My question.
Found objects. I mean, it's not really, I like to play around with clay too, but you know, I'm a very chaotic person. I really love chaos. And
You
so
do?
I want my work to kind of show that chaos and have it
Oh, well, then you were
place to
deprived the
be.
benefit of one of the works I planned to do because I couldn't store the chaos anymore.
Oh, what is it?
I had saved, since I bought my first 3D printer, I had saved all of my 3D print scraps. Now, when I say saved all of them, it was beginning to fill a room at a certain point. And the idea was I was going to make a very audacious, I don't even know if I should describe it. I'll describe it when asked instead of offering. A very audacious sculpture that was entirely comprised out of all these extraneous pieces. So that when you look deeper within it, it would just, you know, it'd be a whole series of things that were essentially scrap being recycled. And it would have to do with what is scrap, what is recycled, and what is value, was the principle.
Interesting. And you were talking earlier about AI. I didn't mean to blow that off. Are you interested in creating work through AI?
I'm
And what does
interested
that look
in,
like?
and I have been, but I was paused on that one too. I had to put so I had this idea to do a projection mapped experience where I take various data points and I run them through a particularly curated AI so that I can make an experience that has to do with what that time and place, what that place means in that moment of human history. And so the location where the art is installed would be inherently different, and who's viewing it would be inherently different. And it would be AI generated based on content that I script and then put into the art. And what you saw projected earlier was that AI art, was things that I was beginning to learn prompting. That was me testing my process and building little samples of what I wanted to make to learn how to prompt exactly what I want out of the AI engines.
Do you tell it what to do and then it does its own thing, or do you?
Yeah, well, they can't. That's the big challenge. Yeah, I can start it with a language model. I can tell it what it can be words or pictures or whatever, but I've got to give it data and a language model, and then a neural network will put it together in a way that evolves so that when you ask it questions, it will respond with a weighted response that has to do with a series of weighted values from those data points. So what basically advanced search. Think of it as super duper Google that can dream. It's not what a lot of people are thinking of in terms of intelligence. I don't believe what we're calling AI currently has the capacity for what we call intelligence currently. It's a different path.
Yeah.
What AI is currently is an advanced way to search for something. It's just searching for something, and that's where artists are complaining, because artists are like, hey, you're searching for my stuff.
Right.
So I realized that I gave limited rights when I put it on Facebook and I put it on wherever because I wanted people to come to my show, but I didn't realize you were going to train people to replace me.
Yeah.
And I can understand that as an intrinsic challenge. But in my experience, Gutenberg didn't eliminate the need for writers just because we're not scribes anymore. And the camera didn't eliminate painters. It simply changed the scene. It simply expanded. It's a new tool. Exactly. Perfect. And so for me, AI is similar. It's a new tool for artists, and it will, in my case, help me a lot because I'm very limited on time and heavy on concept.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Nice way
it's
to put that. That's great.
it's great for people in that position.
Yeah. That's so interesting, for sure.
So I'd like to still do this AI art, but I need the spaces to put it.
Yeah.
And exhibition, as I'm sure you know, being a gallerist, relies on previous exhibition. And people who want to exhibit your artwork would like to have some knowledge of what's going to be there. So there's an inherent challenge with this art and its marketability.
Yeah. For sure. I know nothing about that. It's so interesting, but it's like so far off. Do you have any kind of perspective from your art historical experience?
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm stepping on very unsolid ground. If
Perfect. You're in the right place.
Makes sense.
That's what Two Floridian is for. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can be wrong here. Maybe your opinion can change.
Well, I think I sort of share certain points with Bill, that what we call AI is maybe not a true intelligence yet. And it is basically a bit of stealing, a little bit of input. But so in some modalities that I do for like my wellness activity, they talk about the morphic field. The morphic field is kind of like this, I've been on time, this unifying field, and you can kind of tap in. And like, I don't want to go too metaphysical here or mystical, but you almost kind of want to think about also the pool of information that current AI is drawing from is that morphic field. But then of course, then it comes back to the value. Is it a valuable result that we get from that one particular machine extracting and creating something without prompt through art? Excuse me, right? And then I also still believe, I love working with energy. I believe in energy. If it's a machine created, not to put machines, I will love all the robbers who helped me, but not to put machines down. But there's a certain amount of energy that comes from your, let's say, wisdom or your intuition, your creative spark, right? That I experience. If I look at your work of art, your picture, your painting, I might be coherent with certain energy that you put in as you are creating it, and I would say I want to buy this,
right?
Because time you put into those studies, that
right.
It's not even time. It's like it's that intention. Like, see what you were talking about. Like, it's on my head. That's energy, and that energy eventually you're gonna put into manifested, real, tangible object, whether it's sculpture or painting. And I believe that's my belief. The reason why you stop at certain paintings in a museum and a gallery, or certain paintings or pieces of art, you just walk by. It's like, okay, yeah, acknowledge and keep walking. It's that connection, right? I'm resonating with what you intended and created or not. Doesn't mean that's why it's subjective always, right? And when it's created by a machine, I think that's the piece that is missing. Visual, it could be the same, but am I gonna like be coherent and resonant with that art on a way subtler level? I don't know. I also not very, I haven't seen a lot of great AI created art to have like, oh my god, it's amazing.
You're my wife. Don't tell people you've never seen a nice male body or great AI created art, please.
But actually, talking, we have just a few minutes left. I liked that. I was curious about how you almost self-corrected yourself. You said I started practicing, or I've been practicing art. Practicing art.
Yeah, it's a practice.
Okay.
I think, there's a misperception, I believe, of creating art and creativity in general. I'm sure you've heard people say, I don't have a creative bone in my body. And I feel like that's so silly because everybody does. It just comes out differently. I mean, they say that typically toward a creation of a piece of art, a drawing, a painting, whatever, but you don't say that anymore. I mean, that's ridiculous to say. It just sounds terrible to me. And you're certainly going to have creativity when you meet somebody or create a business or come up with a process for a business. All that stuff's creative. But I do believe that it is learning, and I don't think anybody comes right out of the gate with all the tools they need to be the best artist. They learn how to paint, they learn how layers work, they learn how line works, they learn how charcoal works on paper. You have to experience that in order to get better, figure out what you're doing. And to me, it's always a practice. So when I'm in a studio life, which I love, I consider that practicing.
So it's almost like peeling off layers to reach towards that creative light, and so it can shine. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay. I like that. Yeah. So we all have the creative bone. That's also a new one for me.
Yeah.
You kind of have to.
You've never heard that before.
No, but I
So
like.
funny, isn't it? Yeah, that's
I know.
interesting. That's cool.
One great thing about traveling is you get to all your old material becomes new.
Old material. What?
All your old material becomes new. All the cliche things that you might have said 100 times that you heard from somebody else. You go to another country and people are like, "What a great expression!" You're
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Well, yeah. Or you come to a country where you don't know, like sort of, because last time I also learned something else from Richard Cirillo. Can you elaborate? And he
Can
was.
you elaborate? What was it?
I don't remember, but I
Oh, no.
I gotta.
I gotta go
But
back
we'll know next time.
go back
We'll know
and
next
watch the
time.
podcast. That's why it's recorded.
Yes, it was also some kind of an idiomatic expression, or maybe even like local, like Southern expression. So, speaking of expressions, I remember totally off the topic when I just moved, I was pronouncing Southern.
Oh, wow.
Because it's South, right? So Southern.
And I love how you
Makes
said,
sense.
I was pronouncing. You really literally just said, I was pronouncing.
Is that right?
Like, yes, and
Oh,
it's so southern.
But you said it in a slightly southern way.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love
really?
I'm
that.
rubbing off on you.
Okay.
I think other places they might say pronouncing,
Yeah.
but you said pronouncing, which is amazing. I
Can you
loved
say
it.
it again? What's the difference? I'm trying to grasp.
Pronouncing,
That's the.
that's the proper way, maybe.
You didn't fully. You did
But you said
not the
pronouncing.
ing version. You said
Pronouncing.
pronouncing,
No G on the end,
not
Okay.
pronouncing.
which I love. I love our.
But you're not supposed to
accent down
pronounce G at the end. ING.
Not
It's
down
like
here.
it's a
Not
nasal.
down here in
It's
the
in-
South.
But in the north they do. Yeah.
Oh, but in British English they don't. They don't because it's like a nasal N.
Oh,
That's right. In
Interesting.
British,
I don't think they say like talking.
oh.
No, not
They
in
say
British,
talking.
no.
Yeah, it's like
Talking.
a
Talking.
Yeah. I was
So
taught
cool.
that, so it's kind of weird blend, I guess, of English I'm speaking. So
Yeah. Linguistics are amazing for sure.
Yeah, well, you speak so many languages, it's hard to know where any particular tone comes from because you speak French, German, Russian, English, and a bit of Spanish.
yeah. Well,
Amazing. Amazing.
about your business, we just have a few more minutes. Is there anything exciting or anything you want to share about?
Yeah,
the-
and there's nothing wrong with going
Not
over
the business
words.
galleries, gallery, but the business.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Maybe
we
tell
have
us also about something
yeah.
upcoming. You got something?
Yeah, we have like 60 years in our 60 years in our family business. It's called Harbinger, and we we were a sign company for all the years. I mean, since till recently, and we have changed our business model a little bit. We've diversified and found factories all over the United States instead of one factory here in Jacksonville. And we've stepped into a place where we're doing more brand implementation, full brand experiences, which are mainly surrounded around signs or anything in the built environment that speaks, right? That communicates some graphics or environmental graphics, experiential design, digital things, and that kind of thing. So a full brand service, basically. And it's been going really well. And we have designers on staff. We know how to fabricate. We know about all of the materials. And trying to put all that together in a place that also includes art is exciting to me. And it's what I've always wanted to do. And that's where we are. So we have strategic partners all over the country. We have a portfolio that I'm very proud of with all kinds of projects that have everything from just a regular sign program to a sign program that has digital components to graphic lobbies that talk to a brand. And then we have, the portfolio that speaks to just signs, which is our bread and butter up to this point. But our business has changed. We got rid of our factory here, and we're working with, like I said, factories all over the country, different vendors all over the country, and managing all of those things into projects that we're going after.
Does that help you maintain focus?
That's a very good question. I really like a lot of chaos. So I think the reason I do gallery, painting, business, all the stuff, I think I like to have all that together, and I get really inspired when I have creative people around me and lots of different kind of things going on. It just keeps me interested, and it keeps me engaged and inspired toward what's next and what else can we do, and it's all that stuff. So right now is an exciting moment. We sold our building. We've got another building. We purchased another building in Springfield, and it's 10,000 square feet. It's awful looking. It's like, sorry if I spit. It's awful. It's terrible. A lot of work. We just put a new roof on it. It's just a shell, basically. But it's an exciting project that can add a little bit to my chaos plate that I like to say. But soon we're trying to do multi-tenant type mixed users in the space. We're doing our offices in there. We're having a gallery in there. We'll have hopefully some spaces for creative office. We'll have a coffee shop and a retail store and a co-working space that's free. You just come and work in a coffee shop. It's basically a big coffee shop.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, these are the plans that we're making. They're not all in place yet, but that's our dream. That's our dream, right? Yeah. So we're exploring all the different options. We're doing the design stuff right now, which is fun. I don't have a picture, I don't think, anywhere where I was like, this is the space that I'm going to build, and then discover it later. Like it's in the process of it, and comes from a little bit of the past 15 years of our our last space.
Right.
The goods and bads of that, and hopefully we'll put into this space all the things that make sense. And we're really looking for where we'll fit into the community
in Springfield, just
in general, into the art community, because in the past we've always been, there for a while we were one of the only groups putting together shows and exhibits and bringing in the community. And then as the community developed in such a wonderful way, we lost a little bit of that position, being way down in the south of Jacksonville. So we weren't a part of the fabric of what was going on. And you wake up 15 years later, you're like, really, what does the city need? I mean, what is our place in that community? And that's what we've been going through for the past couple of years, just changing our space. Where do we fit? What are we going to do next? And we have some ideas that we're working on that I can't share yet, but are pretty exciting.
Ooh, gotta have you back when you can share those ideas.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd like to know what they are too. I mean, the final that we come up with.
Secret. Okay.
There's secret. Well, it's not. Yeah,
I think it's a combination of secret and working on it.
Right.
I hate to say too much, because in the past I've said this is what we're doing, and then it doesn't happen, and people just get disappointed. No. But I'm really excited about what our plans are. I hope it fits. I hope we can, make it all happen, because it's a big plan, and I'll be excited to talk about it when it comes together.
Yeah, that's great. Where is it exactly in Springfield?
This building, and we're looking at a couple other projects, is on 8th Street.
That's a good street.
It's in the zone. It's not great, but we hope to build something beautiful in this empty spot, of buildings falling down and nothing really being activated. It's near Main Street. It's kind of on. It's like 4 blocks off of Main Street. It's at 8th.
I didn't want to press for too many details. I was actually going to ask exactly that, if it's close to Main, because there's a lot of buildings close to 8th and Main that need help and would be great for this. So I'm so glad. That's great.
Exciting. Any large spaces for yoga studio?
Oh, right, exactly. We hope we can fold some of that stuff in.
And some AI art exhibits.
There you go. Projection map.
Some projection mapped exhibits, some nice experiential stuff.
For sure.
Steve, thank you so much for your time. I know a busy man who loves chaos.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we wore your voice out. We got everything.
I know, sorry.
We got everything out of you. So that hour of just grilling you. So thank you so much for sharing.
Talk to you guys. I love what you're doing here, and I hope you do more, and however we can help you. I want to see this.
Well, actually, that was my question too. Is there anything you would like to share in the form of links, how we can support you? It's coming up. Not yet.
I guess just our social channels, which we haven't really even loaded up. We've just been consistently trying to, keep those going and showcase artists however we can. Like I said, online, but.
We'll have those links at the bottom. So projects we're talking about, if you want to see more about Steve Williams' projects, you can go to the links below. I know they're not there now on Twitch live, but when you're watching it afterwards, they'll be in the section underneath this video.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really a pleasure. We've had many great conversations, but now I'm glad we're able to share some of this and maybe allow a lot more people to have benefit. So
to get inspired.
Yeah, 'cause I like doing the same thing. I like to see Jacksonville grow.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much today.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop this, and then I guess everyone can get up and party even harder.
Bye.